Good morning and welcome to our Godly Play story. We can do this because of the kindness of the Godly Play Foundation, who have shared this wonderful way of knowing Jesus with us. The kindness of Church Publishing, making the material available, and of course those who share all their skill and knowledge. So, good morning, guys. Nice to see you. I think we need to get ready for our story, and so to do that, let's light our candle today. There was once someone who did such wonderful things and said such amazing things that people followed him. As they followed him, they wondered who he was. One time when they asked him who he was, he said, "I am the light." Let's just enjoy the light for a bit. I'm going to change the light now. I didn't say I'm going to extinguish it or put it out. I'm going to change it. Watch carefully. Can you see the light? The light that was just in that one place is now spreading out to fill this room with light. And your rooms too. Just because we cannot see it doesn't mean it is not there. You ready for a story? We've got a new one today. On the first day of knowing Jesus in a new way, the woman went to the tomb. There were 3 Marys, amongst others: Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Mary the mother of Jesus. Mary Magdalene was not a mother. She was a good and strong friend. The woman carried spices to finish the burial, and they wondered how they would get inside. When they got to the tomb, they found that the stone had been rolled away. And they looked inside, and they saw nothing. Nothing except the white linen cloths that had covered his body. They went to go and tell the others, although most of the others didn't believe them. Peter, being Peter, jumped up and ran back to the tomb. Some say John ran with him and got there first. He waited for Peter, and they went in together. They could feel his presence in the absence. But Jesus was gone. Truly gone. Mary Magdalene came up outside and stood there weeping. Peter and John went back, but Mary stayed. "Woman, why are you crying?" She looked up and she saw 2 men dressed in white. Jesus has gone on. Go and tell the disciples to meet him in Galilee. Woman, why are you crying? Another voice asked. She looked up and saw someone. It must have been the gardener. Tell me where they have taken him, she said, and I will go and fetch him and take him away. Mary. This time, as he said her name, she knew it was he. Mary must have stepped forward because Jesus said, "No, don't hold on to me. I am risen, but not yet ascended." Suddenly he was gone. And Mary went to go and tell the others. On the second Sunday in Easter, we remember how one dark night in Jerusalem, the disciples gathered together in a room with a closed door. They were afraid that the soldiers would come and take them as they had taken Jesus. "Peace be with you," a voice said. It was he. At first they thought he might be a ghost, but then he talked with them. He showed them his wounds. He had a little bit of fish to eat, and he opened the scriptures to them. "Peace be with you," he said again. And then he was gone. Thomas was not with them that night, and when they told him the next day what had happened, he wouldn't believe them. He had doubt in his bones. He said, "I will not believe unless I see his wounds and touch them." Who wouldn't have had doubt? Their minds were stretching to know Jesus in this new way. 8 days later, they were in a room together again. This time Thomas was with them. "Peace be with you," a voice said. It was he. This time he came straight to Thomas. He held out his hand and he said, "Touch me." Thomas fell to his knees and said, "My Lord and my God." Jesus looked at him for a long time and said, "Thomas, you believe because you have seen." And he looked around the circle slowly and said, "Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe." On the third Sunday in Easter, we remember how on the afternoon of the first Easter, 2 of Jesus' followers were making their way slowly from Jerusalem to Emmaus, about 7 miles. As they walked, they talked. They probably shook their heads as they wondered about all that had happened. The cross, the empty tomb, what did it all mean? As they walked, a stranger joined them. They barely even noticed, until he asked, "What are you talking about? Are you the only person in all of Jerusalem who does not know what has happened these last 3 days? The cross, the empty tomb, So much has happened. Oh, you are foolish and slow of heart, he said, and he opened the scriptures for them. Do you remember how when we were trapped in Egypt, Moses led us to freedom through the water? Do you remember how we were trapped in our freedom in the desert and God gave us the 10 commandments to guide us? Do you remember how when we were trapped in exile, the prophets told us that a child would lead us and that someone would come and die for us so that we might be truly alive? By this time, they had already arrived in Emmaus. The miles had just sped by as the stranger talked. He made as if he were going to go on, and they begged him to stay, so he did. That night, as they had supper in the inn, the stranger took the bread, gave thanks to God, and he broke it and he gave them some, and as he shared the bread, they knew it was he. And in that moment, he was gone. They sat at the table talking. Now they understood why their hearts had burned within them as he spoke. Slowly, they got up from the table and hurried back to Jerusalem to tell the others how they had known him in the breaking of the bread. Now, I wonder if you can think of anything, if you can see anything in your home that will help you tell this story. If you can find something, why don't you go and fetch it and bring it, and you can talk about it at home with your moms and dads or whoever's there with you. I wonder if you can see anything that will help you tell the story. I'll see you next time, guys. Keep wondering with your moms and dads.